Arrest report sheds light on alleged Jaguar assault at Town Square in the Villages. Officials contend ID checking in full force as guests descend on the Villages. Villages problem child lands in jail after caught at wheel of mother's car. Apartment dweller with 19 unpaid tickets jailed when caught back behind the wheel. Watch out, cars are driving on the golf cart trails again. A villager has been arrested after biting a woman's arm. A man in a wheelchair from Pennsylvania arrested at a hotel in the Villages. Remember the new golf cart rules this year, so make sure your grandchildren follow the new golf cart rules. Villager takes anger management class after arrest at the swimming pool. Update on a man in the Villages to be disposed in a manslaughter case. How many holes in ones did we get this week? And letters from the editor. This and more coming up. The release of an arrest report is shedding additional light on an event at a car show when an angry villager purposely backed over a member of the event staff. Anthony Michael Guerrera, 76, of the village of Dunedin, was driving his silver Jaguar convertible at about 3:30 p.m. Saturday. He arrived at the monthly cruise-in at Spanish Springs Town Square. Illinois native was belligerent, and a member of the village's entertainment event staff ordered him to leave, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. Gregor threw a piece of paper out of his car, looked at the staffer who had ordered him to leave, and put his car in reverse. He revved the engine and purposely and maliciously backed into the staffer, who wound up on the Jaguar's luggage rack. Several witnesses provided sworn affidavits backing up the staffer's version of the events. The staffer was taken to U of Health, the village's hospital. Guerrero began to shake uncontrollably and was taken by ambulance to the village's public safety department to U of Health Leesburg Hospital. Upon his release, he was arrested on a charge of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. He remains free on a $5,000 bond. He is set for felony arraignment December the 11th in Lake County courts. What the heck's the matter with these people? District officials contend ID checking is in full force as guests descend on the villages for the holiday season. The Recreational Department, Rohan, has been pushing back on the notion that IDs are not being checked at pools, pickleball courts, and other facilities in Florida's friendliest hometown. Quite the contrary, the Recreational Department has reported more than 1,500,000 ID checks over the past 7 months. IDs are checked by two methods, with an ID scanner or manually by staff. Guest ID cards are issued for all guests 1 year and older. Guests 19 years of age and older must also have a photo ID when using district amenity facilities. I'm here to tell you, they never ask for the ID card, and if you don't have one, they never ask you to leave. They just say, next time you're here, bring a photo ID card with you. Do you have a driver's license? The kid says no. All approved facilities are also listed on the guest ID in area guest ID card forms. A resident who has a son, daughter, grandchild, or great-grandchild and their spouses who reside in Lake, Marion, or Sumter counties may apply for an in-area guest ID card. Guests with an in-area ID card must be accompanied by the sponsoring resident. A villager's problem child landed in jail after she was caught at the wheel of her mother's car. Lynn Ellen Kaminsky, 60, of the village of Silver Lake, was driving a silver Toyota passenger car at 3:46 p.m. Monday southbound on U.S. Highway 27 and 441 when she was pulled over for not having a valid registration. Registration had expired in 2021. She also had no proof of insurance. A check revealed Kaminsky's license had been permanently revoked for multiple convictions for driving under the influence. In 2016, Kaminsky beat a DUI conviction after hitting a power pole on Griffin Avenue. She was suspected of driving drunk and was taken to the hospital in Leesburg to be checked out. She fled the ER with the IV in her arm. The prosecutor's office eventually dropped the case. At the time, Kaminsky's mother described her to police as her problem child. Do you guys see the ridiculousness in this? The lady left the ER with the IV in her arm and got away. I don't know where she went. She didn't drive. Where'd she go? She took the evidence with her. And then mom says she's described as a problem child. She's 60 years old. She's always going to be your child, but she wouldn't be my problem child at 60 years old. But maybe mom needs to help. I don't want to make fun, but this is ridiculous. Kaminsky is currently on probation at the time of the traffic stop on Monday in Fruitland Park. A cut straw with the residue of heroin was found in her purse. The Cleveland, Ohio native was arrested on charges of driving while license revoked and possession of drug paraphernalia. She was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting an $11,000 bond. I want you people to start noticing Lake County, Marion County, Sumter County, and the differences in the bonds in each one of them counties if you get caught. A resident of the Lake Sumter Apartments who had 19 unpaid tickets was arrested when she was caught back behind the wheel. Toya Patricia Figueroa, 33, who lives in the apartment complex on County Road 466 and Cherry Lake Road, was driving a black Ford SUV at 9:15 a.m. Monday, heading south on Old Dixie Highway, approaching West McClendon. An officer was familiar with the vehicle due to the previous encounters. He knew Figueroa did not have a driver's license. During the traffic stop, Figueroa admitted her license was suspended. She claimed she was trying to get it reinstated. A records check revealed the New York native was convicted of driving while license suspended on April 19th and November 13th. She was arrested on a felony charge of driving while license suspended. She was booked to Lake County Jail and released after posting a $2,000 bond. A lost lady drove a California convertible through a roundabout on a golf cart path Wednesday afternoon in the Villages. The dark-colored Ford Mustang was eastbound at about 3 p.m. when it entered the multimodal path that parallels County Road 466 near Laurel Manor Recreation Center. The car was making its way around the roundabout when a Good Samaritan on a bicycle tried to stop the woman driver. She rolled down the window. "It's okay, they told me what I was doing wrong," she called out to the bicyclist. The driver was apparently referring to a man in a golf cart a short distance back who had tried to give some guidance to the errant motorist. The car, which had California license plates, made its way back to County Road 466. Where'd she turn around at? There's nowhere to turn around on a golf cart trail with a car. The villager who had been drinking was jailed after allegedly biting a woman's arm. John Verville, 75, of the village of Bel Air, was arrested on a felony charge of battery after leaving a bite mark on the woman's arm, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Department. Deputies were called to investigate an altercation between Verville and a woman who said the Detroit, Michigan native became irate. She said Verville, who stands 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighs 200 pounds, lunged at her. He pushed her to the ground, forcing the back of her head to strike the hard tile floor. She said Verville kicked her in the ribs and grabbed her by the neck. He was on top of her, and she was able to hit him with a small chair to try to get him off of her. He bit her arm, which was holding the chair. The pain of the bite forced her to drop the chair. When deputies arrived on the scene and spoke to Verville, they could smell the strong odor of alcohol coming from his breath. He admitted the altercation was his fault and said he was sorry. Due to the woman's age being over 65, the charge was enhanced to a felony. Verville had been arrested in 2015 on a charge of driving under the influence when he was pulled over in his golf cart. Verville told a deputy who arrested him that he was on a run to NYPD PSEP. He was placed on 1 year's probation in order to perform 50 hours of community service. Later that same year, he was transported to the village's regional hospital following the collision between his golf cart and a golf cart carrying a couple from the villages of La Zamora. Another neighborhood you don't hear about a lot, but it's a nice neighborhood, La Zamora. After Tuesday night's arrest, he was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Bond was set at $3,000. Should be more like $5,000. A wheelchair-bound man from Pennsylvania was arrested at a hotel in the Villages. Nathaniel Trincy, 63, was arrested at about 5:30 a.m. Friday at the Sure Stay Hotel at 1201 Avienda Central after repeatedly calling the front desk and screaming obscenities, according to the arrest report. He also went to the front office and kicked the door. Officers arrived at room 106 where Trincy, who was identified by his Pennsylvania driver's license, was staying, and found Trincy moving around the room in his wheelchair. He became belligerent and unruly. He refused to leave the hotel. He told officers that because he was in a wheelchair, it is illegal to harass him. That might be true in Pennsylvania, but it ain't true in the state of Florida. Officers warned him that if he did not leave the hotel, he would be taken to jail. And they're not kidding. He was arrested on a charge of trespassing and booked at the Lake County Jail on a $1,000 bond. He has been banned from the Sure Stay Hotel as well as the nearby Comfort Inn and Suites and Holiday Inn Express, which are all owned by the same company. The Sure Stay Hotel was previously the Hacienda Hotel, the original hotel in the Villages. It was a subject of a code enforcement hearing in 2022. I remember years ago, gosh, I don't even know how many years ago, maybe 30 years ago, when we first came to the Villages, we wanted to come back a second time to look more. There was only one town square. We were told it was a retirement community. That's all we really knew. Hacienda Hotel was there. Actually, it could be called Hacienda Hotel and Suites, because every room, as far as I know, had a kitchen attached to it. And it was a very nice place. You could walk to Spanish Springs. It was a very nice hotel. So I'm sad to hear that the hotel itself took a downturn. Grandma and Grandpa, listen up. There are plenty of grandchildren visiting the Villages for the Thanksgiving weekend and Christmas holidays that will soon be coming up. Parents and grandparents are urged to make sure those youngsters are following the rules when it comes to golf carts. A new law took effect October 1 in Florida, requiring teens to have a learner's permit at 15 years old or driver's license at 16 years old in order to legally operate a golf cart. Prior to October 1, children 14 and older could legally operate a golf cart without a license. Not anymore. Other rules to observe while the grandchildren are here. Do not let anyone ride standing in a golf cart or the back platform. You'd be surprised how many kids ride in the back of the golf cart where they keep golf clubs. Children should not be sitting on the driver's lap and should never be steering the vehicle. Passengers should keep their arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times, except for the driver when signaling a turn. Golf cars should yield to other vehicular traffic in all cases. Don't text, call while driving. That's a duh. Golf cars and other low-speed vehicles aren't permitted to travel on sidewalks. You'd be surprised. Other than that, have a good time, have a fun time, enjoy yourself. Here's an update on a guy that was arrested for, remember, smoking a cigarette at a swimming pool, and he got into arguments. The police went there. He got in arguments with them. They finally arrested him. A villager has completed an anger management class after his arrest at the swimming pool in Florida's friendliest hometown. Lyle Thompson Parrott, 64, the village of DeLuna, earlier this month in Sumter County, was placed on probation for 1 year after pleading no contest to a charge of assault on a law enforcement officer. At sentencing, Parrott submitted proof that he had completed an anger management course in an apparent effort to soften the blow. He was placed on probation for 1 year. And that's your update. If you want to know more about that case, go back a couple weeks and you'll find the original report on what happened there. Here's another update. This is the guy that punched the guy because he thought he hit his car, but he didn't hit his car. It was the wrong car. He punched the old guy. 2 weeks later, the old guy died. This was done at the Glenview Country Club. And I've had a lot of you ask about what's happening with this guy. Well, he's gotten a lawyer, and just like every other lawyer that's going to defend him, they're going to delay this as much as possible. But here's a little bit of an update. Country Club employees and villagers will be disposed in a fatal altercation which resulted in the death of an 87-year-old resident of Florida's friendliest hometown. Virtual dispositions will be taken in January by Zoom in the case of 75-year-old Robert Moore of the village of Polo Ridge, who is facing a manslaughter charge. It is hoped the deposition will shed light on the altercation that caused the death of Dean William Zook. He died July 16th and more than 2 weeks after he was attacked over a fender bender at Glenview Country Club. Those to be disposed are Country Club employees and villagers, as well as several members of the village's public safety department and the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. There's your update on that case. I have my feelings about it, and, tell me your feelings. Put it in the comments below. A villager has been sentenced in a chair-throwing disturbance at a Lake Sumter Landing restaurant. Chair throwing. What the heck is the matter with you people? Maybe this ain't the place for you to be. Maybe you need to move somewhere else. This is crazy. Retirement community and people doing stuff like this. Peter John and Nat, 54, the village of Chatham, pleaded no contest earlier this month to charges of battery and trespassing in Sumter County Court. He had been placed on probation for 1 year. Matt showed up after closing time on the night of October 9 at RJ Gator's restaurant. He had been permanently banned from that restaurant on September 20. He walked from the front of the patio area to the restaurant's front door, which was locked, according to the arrest report. Matt began throwing chairs in the patio area, and an employee of the restaurant walked outside onto the patio and asked Nat to leave. Rather than leave, Nat, who stands 5 foot 11 inches tall and weighs 225, pushed the man. The incident was captured on video surveillance. Registration will open on December 1 for the holiday edition of Camp Villages. Camp Villages will take place from December 19 to 28 and will feature activities including a workshop with Santa, outdoor winter games competition, arts and crafts, as well as golf cart scavenger hunts. Villagers can register their grandchildren online at Recreation Department at districtgov.org. An inspector has found that an unlicensed outdoor bar was improperly added at a country club in the Villages. The outdoor bar was added in 2020 at Glenview Country Club. It was the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, and restaurants all over the country were scrambling to add drive-through capacity, outdoor seating, and curbside pickup. In the Villages, outdoor bars became more popular than ever. However, a state inspector paid 3 recent visits to Glenview Country Club on October 31, November 9, and November 16, and found that the restaurant's owner had yet to file the proper paperwork with the state, even retroactively, according to a report on file with Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations. The code says the operator of each public food service establishment to be newly constructed, remodeled, converted, or reopened after being out of business for more than 12 months shall submit properly prepared facility plans and specifications to the division for review and approval in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 509, Florida State and Rule Chapter 61C-1 and 61C-4 FAC. Such plans must be approved by the division as meeting the sanitation and safety requirements provided in law prior to scheduling of an opening, inspection, and licensing. Sounds like a bunch of lawyer rhetoric to me. Part of the problem with Glenview Country Club's outdoor bar, in addition to the proper paperwork never being submitted, is that it is located on the opposite side of the building from the kitchen, which is not in accordance with the code. The bar has a 3-compartment sink, and outdoor warewashing was noticed by the inspector, which is a violation of the code. For now, the bar remains open under an extension of time granted by the inspector. Here's an update report on the guy supposedly that ripped off other villagers for the amount of like $3 million. A villager who allegedly stole more than $3 million from fellow residents is wearing an ankle monitor and cannot consume liquor. John Michael Gassage, 73, the village of Gilcrest, was released earlier this month from the Sumter County Detention Center after posting a $330,000 bond, which he originally indicated he could not raise. He spent more than a month behind bars prior to his release. On the day he left the jail, an ankle monitor was strapped on him per conditions of his bond. The judge also ordered that Gazash cannot leave Sumter County and cannot consume alcohol. He also may not contact any of the investors he is accused of defrauding. There's your update on that. Here's another update. A villager has entered a plea in connection with the 2022 golf cart crash and subsequent drunk driving arrest he said he feared would screw up the rest of his life. Douglas Ray Adams, 73, of the village of Monarch Grove, entered a plea of not guilty to a charge of driving under the influence on November 17 in Sumter County Court. Through his attorney, J. Scott Herman, Adams has already paid $332 in fines for tickets for open container and failure to have vehicle under control. Kingston, North Carolina, was arrested November 10 at his home on a warrant charging him with the incidents. And there's your update on that one. I do these updates because a lot of you tell me that you watch the news and you always wonder about what happened because they never reported what happened later. And so I'm just getting into the habit of trying to give you the updates the best that I can. Nearly 400 apartments will be built in a huge complex with proximity to the Middleton community that is part of the Villages. Middleton is home to the new Villages Charter School, including the Villages High School. It has been expected there could be an exodus of families from communities like Bison Valley and Parkwood, which are near the Buffalo Ridge campus, in favor of the new housing in Middleton. But with a 3-bedroom home with a 2-car garage selling for $445,000 in Middleton, that price could be far out of reach for many charter school families. Enter the Hamilton apartments to be built on Central Parkway. The 392-unit, 506,000 square foot complex that will include a total of 27 buildings, including a 6,419 square foot clubhouse. Bid documents indicate Hamilton Apartments will feature elevators, detached garages, fireplaces, balconies, barbecue grills, a fire table, and hammocks. The general contractor for the apartment complex is RLH Construction, LLC of Oviedo. Middleton is part of the Villages and falls under a community development district. However, residents of Middleton do not have access to amenities in the Villages. Here's a little Christmas already. A villager is inviting fellow residents to check out the nightly holiday light show at his home. Dave Reed is offering the spectacular Christmas show at his home at 1002 Dustin Drive in the village of Silver Lake. Are you ready for the holidays? Are your lights up? Are your pampered pets primped for the season? Share your holiday photos at news@villages-news.com. So if you got pictures of your pets that's primped and proper for the holidays, your house is decorated for holidays, send your pictures into the Villages News, and then I'll show them to you. A hit-and-run suspect was nabbed at a shopping plaza in the Villages. T. Maureen Wilson, 40, of Bellevue, was arrested Sunday when her white Dodge Dakota pickup was spotted at Magnolia Plaza. The previous day, she had been involved in an accident on Clay Drain Road in Wildwood, according to the arrest report. After the accident, Wilson continued to drive for a quarter of a mile. She stopped, turned around, drove by the accident scene, and kept going. A photo was taken and captured her license plate number. When she stopped by the police the following day near the Villages golf cars at Magnolia Plaza, she admitted the upper arm of her driver's side tire was broken and was causing her vehicle to pull hard to the left. There was fresh damage to the front driver's side fender. Wilson said she thought she'd hit a bump or something on Clay Drain Road. She was arrested on a charge of hit and run. She was booked at Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $500 bond. A villager was arrested on a felony battery charge after alleged scratching a man's neck. Sarah Jane DeMoss, 63, of the village of Santo Domingo, was arrested Wednesday by Sumter County Sheriff's deputies. They responded to the DeMoss home after she was involved in an altercation with a man over the age of 65, according to the arrest report. She and the man had been arguing when he walked to the kitchen to make some food and give DeMoss a chance to calm down. She followed him and yelled obscenities. DeMoss began to scratch the man's face and neck, prompting him to grab her wrist. With her wrist restrained, she spit on him. He responded by spitting in DeMoss's face. It's a spit-off. When deputies arrived on the scene, they saw that the man had scratches on his forehead and neck. DeMoss was arrested on a charge of battery, which was elevated to a felony due to the man's age. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a felony charge, and catch this, a $50 bond. Jamie and Robert Cooper are ready for Christmas at their home in the Eleanor Villas in the Villages of Pinellas. Are you ready for the holidays? Have you decked the halls? Is your pet dressed up and ready to go? Share your videos, share your photos to news@villages-news.com. A 26-year-old resident of the village of Silver Lake was arrested after an alleged attack left a woman with a bloody nose. David Lawrence Londino is set to be arraigned December 12th in Lake County Court on a charge of battery. The New Jersey native was arrested after officers were called in the wee hours November 19th to a home on Rainbow Court. A woman told police that Londino, who stands 6 feet tall and weighs 215 pounds, punched her in the eye and shoved her into a door jamb. She had a bloody nose and was holding her eye when police arrived on the scene. The woman said Ladino became upset when she opted to move to a child's bed in the home. Ladino remains free on a $1,000 bond. Very few guest IDs have been issued for those staying in an Airbnb in the villages with a high turnover rate. This has been a problem for a long while, Airbnbs here. I'm not sure exactly what the problems are. I don't live next door to one, but I can only imagine what some of the problems could be. And the owner of the home has to take responsibility of it. The home at 527 Wheelock Street in the village of Osceola Hills has been under scrutiny after neighbors went in October before the Community Development District 10 Board of Supervisors. Neighbors complained the home is being rented out like a motel. They said there has been loud music late at night and boats and oversized vehicles in the driveway. Well, they can't have loud music late at night. That's a violation of the county. Call the police. 10 o'clock's quiet time. CDD 10 Supervisor Steve Bova wanted to know how many guest IDs have been issued for those staying at the home, which is owned by a California investor. The answers didn't add up. There were 2 different sets issued for this property, a set of 5 guest passes in September and 2 guest passes in October. Bova, who represents CDD 10 on the Project-Wide Advisory Committee, which oversees amenities south of County Road 460, said he did not believe the guest IDs issued for 527 Wheelock accurately reflect the renters' use of facilities. Do you really think they aren't using our pools and pickleball courts, he said? The Recreation Department has steadfastly said the IDs are being checked and said 1.5 million IDs have been checked in the past 7 months. Let me tell you where Rohan gets that. These are just little figures that he gets off these machines, so the scanners, and they write stuff down and all this and that. Just because they scan something don't mean that they're enforcing a rule. So he's a numbers guy. That's all he does. He just sits at a desk and writes stuff down, and the numbers show this, the numbers show that, and it's not really the true facts. How many holes in one did we get in the villages this week? Well, it looks like only one. Rick Ribble Jr. of the village of DeSoto got his first hole-in-one November 17th at the Longleaf Executive Golf Course. He scored the lucky ace at hole number 4. He happens to have a YouTube channel called Golfing the Villages, which is dedicated to all things golfing in the villages. I had one of those. How about we do a couple letters to the editor? What do you say? To the editor, the repairs that were done last year on this path made the path worse than it was before repairs. Hopefully we won't use the same company. This cart path should have totally been replaced last year, and now we are paying for another Band-Aid that will not last more than a year. That's sent in by David Woodcock from the village of Polo Ridge. Well, David, I tried pointing out even the brand new golf cart paths before Finney was even built that they weren't properly put in, and several people said that I was just nitpicking, so I just started getting quiet about it. Never said no more. Now I go down there, you can see it now. Golf cart paths are falling apart, and now we residents are going to have to cough up millions of dollars to get these golf cart paths replaced or fixed. To the editor, people like Mr. Thomas Snyder are the reason the Villages is no longer called America's friendliest hometown. That's a sales technique. Nobody ever calls it that except the salespeople. The paths Mr. Snyder refers to are called multimodal paths. That is true, but for many, many years, probably 20 years or better, they were always cart paths. The village was known as the golf cart community. Billboards were everywhere. They are not cart paths. Well, it all depends on who you're talking to. I call them cart paths because I know what they originally were and what they originally were intended for. The paths are open to multimodal paths are intended for the enjoyment of non-automotive traffic such as bicycles, golf cars, and pedestrians. That's true up to that point, but there are restrictions there. Roller skates, roller blades, and all that kind of things, skateboards, none of that is allowed on a golf cart path. See, I called it a golf cart path again. You could take issue with me if you want. It's meant to be shared by all. Just another example of an uninformed resident making false claims about rules. I'm going to say that whoever you're talking about here, who is it, Mr. Thomas? Mr. Thomas has probably been here longer than you, and he remembers what it was, what the intentions of it was. And as time went on to sell more and more houses, the developer changed the rules and made it a multimodal path because he wanted to attract more home buyers. And that's the only reason why he done that. Actually, the golf cart paths, it's kind of dangerous when other people get on there. There's so many people here that can't hear, can't see, on pharmaceutical drugs at night. They got night blindness. And if you're out there walking around, because there's a lot of stupid people walking around with no reflective clothing on, no reflective flashing lights or anything at night, and you can't see them until at the last minute, and there's been people hit and been injured. And I think one or two have been killed. So it's not a false claim to say it's dangerous. And it is dangerous if you don't pay attention. To the editor, I believe that if you have a legitimate complaint, you should be willing to sign your name to it. I also believe that you should speak with your neighbor, if possible, prior to filing a complaint. This idea of hiding behind anonymity gives people the power to complain about things that are petty when they normally would not complain at all. That's sent in by Kevin Kapash from the village of Richmond. Well, that's true, but I still like the idea of anonymous complaints. I just think they should be tightened up to where you have to make the complaint in person at the office. You have to live in the district in which you're making the complaint about, and you have to prove that you're a resident in that district. But to keep your name anonymous, yes, I think that's fine. The person you're complaining about, if it's found to be legit, they don't need to know who you are. They don't need to know who makes that complaint. That's all about payback's a bitch. That's all that's about. Well, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. I ask this every week, and I know it gets tiresome to hear it all the time, but it truly helps out the channel. Become a Patreon member if you can. It starts out at $2 a month, and it truly, truly helps the channel out. My Patreon members is the reason why I even do the news. Give us that thumbs up. Let's get me over that 20,000 subscriber mark. And I'll just simply say, come down to Villages, check it out. It's not for everybody. That being said, I'll see you on the other side.
And don't leave your keys in a golf cart.